Hello, I'm Sandra Starley, and I'm an AQS certified quilt appraiser from Moab in Fillmore, Utah. And I'm here at the Territorial State House in Fillmore, Utah. And we're talking about quilts and quilt history. The quilt behind me, or both quilts actually, are New York Beauty. Our Rocky Mountain Road is the quilt pattern. It's an old quilt pattern. It was traditionally a Southern quilt pattern, and that was when it was called Rocky Road, or Rocky Mountain Beauty. In 1930, Mountain Mist produced a pattern from an antique quilt, and they called that pattern New York Beauty. And ever since then, the name has caught on. So you'll generally hear it called that. But here in Utah, where the quilt here was made, in front of me, it was called Sunrise in the Pines. One of the interesting things about it being a Southern quilt pattern is the reason why this quilt was made is that the quilt maker got the pattern from a neighbor, and her neighbor was a Texan. This quilt was made by Alzida Bracken Day, and in her later years, she lived in Kanosh, Millard County, Utah, just a few minutes away from Fillmore. But earlier than that, she lived in Pine Valley by St. George, Utah. And her neighbor was Dorinda Moody, and she was a famous quilter who liked to do very intricate, spiky, pointy, detailed piecing. So this is another example of New York Beauty. And you can see between the two quilts, they're very different. This is a very scrappy quilt, so using oodles of different fabrics. And it makes quite a bit of difference in the overall effect versus a quilt that used only a couple of fabrics. One of the things you'll notice on this quilt is there are several different colors. Probably when she made the quilt, all of the sashings were actually green, but they were a two-step process that was used to make the green. So you had yellow and blue make green. Well, sometimes depending on the chemicals that are in your water, and also a dye that wasn't a good stable dye, the yellow will completely come out, and so you get a blue. Dyeing fabric was a whole scientific process. And to get turkey reds, there would be, it was about a 25-step process, which would involve things like cow dung and ox blood. And you got a really good, solid, stable color, but there was a lot of chemistry involved in it.